Bet Online continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC. Head to Bet Online today and don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here.
All right, big ups to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of the Coma. Big ups to the fam, man. Listen, welcome. You're now rocking with Sports Coma, Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Appreciate you as always, man. Hope y'all having a fantastic week, man. We up in this thing. Middle of the week Saints report, man, just to go over with you guys. Won't be an incredibly long stream today, man. So big ups and salute to all you guys. Thank y'all for being here. Do me a service, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. We represent. All right, so listen, fam. Several articles I want to go over with you tonight on this stream, man, and very interesting, man, to say the least, right? We take a look at everything that's going on with the black and gold, man, and it is obvious that the New Orleans Saints are going to go ahead with Mickey Loomis as the predetermined guy, but we'll see how it all shakes. There's a lot of other things going on too. Not saying that they're going to shake things up in a major capacity like we would want them to be, being that the obvious. But so far, what we're seeing is the Saints must stick this hire. They must stick this head coaching hire. Not super confident about who's making it, but in the end, man, it simply is what it is, right? Anyway, let's get into some of the news, man. To start off with the Saints coaching tracker, just a little brief, because this is the important thing. Shout out to the Saints Wire. Got a couple of articles from those guys. They're pumping out good work, talking about it. Now, the Saints working quickly to shift focus from this season, issuing a wave of requests for interviews for candidates who could be their next head coach, tracking every interview request and report. This is the Saints Wires tracker. And let me get it on the big screen so the family member can see it in full. As Mike Vrabel is the guy. And of course, we know the New England Patriots did get rid of Gerard Mayo, and it is very well known that their handpicked person that they want to direct the New England Patriots is Mike Vrabel. Makes sense. He was a linebacker there in their heyday, coached, was coached by one of the best that ever was to do it. Had some previous coaching experience with the Titans, could find himself back in familiar stumping ground. So Mike Vrabel, and this is who they're really keying in. Let's get a little update right here. Now, January 5th, the Saints expected to interview Vrabel for the head coach, and he worked as a consultant with the Browns and the Titans. He was the Titans head coach, and several other teams are preferring him or pursuing him as well. And he's one of the hottest coaches on the scene right now. And of course, as of recent, the Saints have been in touch with Vrabel, but things are moving quickly with his preferred landing spot, the New England Patriots. So this could be one of the first coaching hires as Vrabel, who does have the coaching resume that we want as a head coach. Now, like I said, I've been on the record saying I would prefer more of an offensive-minded coach with this similar resume, if such a person exists. But, Vrabel could be he's a respected coach with like I said, played at a higher level as a player and was successful as a head coach and could be good. But like I said, with New England moving on from their coach, they're singing in on Mike Vrabel, and this could be possibly a done deal. A lot of insiders believe that's where he lands. Kellen Moore, the Saints request an interview with Kellen Moore of the Philadelphia Eagles coordinator with previous stop with the Chargers and the Cowboys. That's still one requesting. Nobody's interviewed in terms of these guys yet. Joe Brady is the guy. And I remember Joe Brady came from LSU. He had that fantastic year with Joe Burrow, went into the NFL, bounced around at different stops, trying to gain experience. The Saints requested to interview him. So we'll see how that works. He does have some, a link with the Saints from being on the staff back in, with the Saints as an assistant there. Aaron Glenn is a lot of people picking Aaron Glenn to be the favorite. But like I was telling people, Aaron Glenn is going to have his picks and chooses. The New York Jets could be a stop for him. He's played there before. He has a connection to him. And like a lot of people saying, Aaron Glenn's the guy. Listen, the Jets, he has a link to the Jets as well. He's familiar with that organization. And him and Coach Johnson, the offensive coordinator, those guys are going to be head coaches coming up in the 25-26 season. They're going to be coaches. Now, not necessarily this could be for the Saints, because like I said, there are a couple of teams that's beating his door down to get interviews, and he'll have his picks and chooses on where he decides to go. And a lot of people, some of the insiders and the word on the street is that the Jets are going to make a strong swing at Aaron Glenn to be their head coach. We'll see. Anyway, he's expected to interview with the Saints on Friday, so we'll see how that goes. As you can see, given all the buzz surrounding Glenn, but the Lions also have been formally requested for a meeting with the Saints. Has requested by the Saints. Glenn coached New Orleans before and finished his career as a black and gold member, coming off his best performance as a defensive play caller. So Friday is we'll see what's going on with that. Mike Kafka is an interesting candidate. Came as a minor surprise given the lack of success with the Giants, but he comes highly regarded in some circles. Before arriving in New York, he worked with the Kansas City Chiefs as a quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator under Andy Reid. So he does have some of that Andy Reid tree. And Brian DeBall stripped play calling duties from him as pressure mounted, but Kafka was given the assistant head coach title as a consolation prize. Now he will interview with the Bears and Saints on Thursday, January the 9th. So that'll be tomorrow. We'll see what goes on there. With that, we'll have latest on that. And of course, here's Darren Rizzi. Rizzi will interview with the Saints next week. He went 3-5 as interim coach, but he said he has strong support in the building for the full-time gig. Now, listen, I'm not a fan of the Darren, or a supporter, rather, is a better word, in terms of the Darren Rizzi thing. I think he is more of a placater than anything. I don't really want – I've seen enough of him being here. We need somebody with a stronger resume than that. And just besides all the passion is cool, but we need a lot higher IQ football all around, and we need to change things up radically. We don't need to go back with retreads and guys that have connections to the team and all that kind of stuff. And who the hell cares about players that want to bring back a losing ass team, want to bring back some of these people? Man, get out of here. We need fresh people in the building, preferably people with a more of a success mind frame and people that believe in accountability and not placation. Anthony Weaver, another interesting name. Saints also requested to interview Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator. He's a longtime NFL veteran as a player and coach, and was previously John Harbaugh's assistant head coach on the Ravens staff. He's trending up here. So this is a good hire. In terms of interview in terms of what we're talking about dealing with the Saints. We'll see how this also all works out. But Reaver will interview, supposed to be today. Now, I don't think we heard anything from him today, but that more than likely, whatever happens there will probably bounce out more than likely tomorrow. So like I said, a lot of this stuff is this. Jonathan Jones is saying Dolphins defensive coordinator will interview today with the Saints for the vacant head coaching position. Sources tell CBS that the interview is virtual. So a lot of virtual interviews right here being conducted, just to let you guys know. So we'll have more information on what happened here. And then this is, of course, John Sigler gives an update about what about David Shaw. NFL Network's first reported longtime Stanford head coach and Denver Broncos senior personnel executive was going to interview with the Saints, but the Saints squashed the story and have since made it known that won't be happening. It appears someone on Airline Drive was irritated that the news got out, or at least it was characterized. So, still in all, if it got out or not, still interviewed a man. Very smart head coach here. And, this is the type of, coach that you want to kind of talk to, interview or whatnot. But you got to consider who is conducting the search. And also, Coach Payton's also likes David Shaw a lot and could possibly recommend to Mickey Loomis, because Mickey Loomis does anything Sean Payton tells him to do about possibly being that guy. And speaking about Denver Bronco people, Davis Webb. Who is this? It was reported by overnight by Fox Sports that Saints had a request an interview for Webb, who's a 29-year-old Broncos quarterbacks coach, but has been refuted by local outlets. He has supporters from his work with Bo Nix, but it doesn't sound like Webb is a real candidate for the job at this time. That was a kind of a crazy one as well. What about Cliff Kingsbury? The January 8th, the conflicting reports keep coming in, with one credible insider reporting that Cliff Kingsbury received an interview request and another local outlet saying he hadn't. Either way, Kingsbury, poor record as a head coach in the NFL and the college level, is cause for concern if he's on the Saints' radar. And this is the thing about Cliff Kingsbury, he will have to report, keep moving along in terms of, because he came straight out of college, really hot as a hot head coach, making waves. He kind of fizzled out in the NFL, and then had to revert back to being a coordinator. And he just have to work his way back up as well. So these are a couple of names, and we'll hear a few things right now. But this is all that there is currently about the updates dealing with the Saints tracker. So shout out to Saints Wire for giving us that information. All right, let's move on, fam. Let's go to this article right here. And this one here is an article by the Bleacher Report that covers some of the teams, and we're looking at some of the offseason, this offseason breakdown, kind of looking at ahead of what's going to happen in the offseason of New Orleans Saints. Just a brief look at some of the things going on with the black and gold as it stands. As we get into it, it'll be an eventful offseason for the Saints. The first order of business will be finding a new head coach. Dennis Allen was fired midseason, given how the team finished the campaign. Interim coach Darren Rizzi likely won't be retained. Then it's figuring out how to get out of the cap hell, as New Orleans once again has to dig itself out of a significant hole. The biggest weaknesses is Bleacher Report lists as quarterback, edge rusher, cornerback, offensive tackle, and safety. Projected salary cap, according to SportTrack, $78.4 million in the red. Mickey Loomis has developed a reputation as a salary cap wizard over the last few years. I don't know about that unless the wizard comes from hell. Reworking contracts to get the Saints in the black. He'll have to do that again, as the organization needs to clear roughly $80 million just to break even, meaning some tough decisions are likely in store. Several veterans should be on the chopping block, like Derek Carr, as cutting Carr would save $30 million. Also, it wouldn't be surprising to see the club move on from Cam Jordan's $11 million, Ryan Ramczyk's $18 million, more on that later, Taysom's $10 million, and DeMario's $4 million, among others. The guys that have been foundational players for the Saints in the past, but they're getting older, and the club can't keep restructuring deals and expect to get out of the rut it's been in. The team hasn't made the playoffs since 2020, despite keeping its core together and the roster aging. 2025 free agent target, move on from older players. As mentioned above, the Saints have been mediocre at best over the last several years, and the salary cap hole in 2025 is significant, to say the least. Instead of targeting more veterans on the open market, the organization should embrace a rebuild and prioritize on moving from players while looking to stockpile as many draft picks as possible. Now, according to the Tankathon, this is what the Saints picks look like: round 1, number 9, round 2, number 40, round 3, number 71, and number 90 from Washington, rounds 4, number 111, and numbers 128 via Washington. No picks in 5, 1 in round 6, which is 183, and round 7, 253, which is predicted to be a compensatory pick, projected pick for playoff teams, subject to change. So the Saints do have a bunch of picks here to kind of do it. And the reason why the Saints are kind of accruing all of these picks are, it's well known. The bottom line is, if you're the New Orleans Saints organization, at some point you're going to have to make the leap away from the regular plan. But like I said, there's been an unwillingness to adjust from this philosophy, because Mickey Loomis believes that if the Saints can just be relevant for the next 2 years, they'll gain all of the cap back organically without having to do any extra work to get it. But the reality is, the pressure of the family base is going to be fever pitch to be able to force the Saints into doing the necessary moves to fix this team and make it competitive. The Saints finished dead last in NFC South in the cellar with tied with the Carolina Panthers. That is, and coming into the season, a lot of people, including myself, thought the Saints would at least be considered, if not the best, at least the second best team in the NFC South, with all of the resources and all of the veteran players that they have accrued over the last several years. This is what they told us as a organization that they were doing. You just adding talent with the aging players or the older experienced players, and that was supposed to form a chemistry, a synergy where you have youth and experience that could take the Saints into the future. That failed because the Saints didn't have any accountability, and even worse, now no imagination or either leadership to galvanize these people, and it failed miserably. But this is the thing that we're currently dealing with, right? So top 25 draft pick targets. They saying Nick Scarton from Texas A&M, who's an edge rusher. The draft board should be wide open for Loomis as the team will have several needs they can go with. Best player available approach at 6'4", 280. The Texas A&M product fits the general manager's profile for a defensive end. It could be a great replacement for Jordan Young or Chase Young as a big part of it. Nick appeal is a combination of size and strength. The Purdue transfer scouting report says, to put it in perspective, he has the frame of a more traditional hand in the ground defensive end, but both Texas A&M and Purdue deployed him as a stand-up outside linebacker and had him even drop into coverage on several plays. So that's their pick for a top pick. And let's just go over some of these things just to talk about it. We'll see what the number is going forward on it. I don't believe it's that high, but man, all I can tell you in the end is when you take a look at what we say with the New Orleans Saints team, they have quite the conundrum. And this is something that Mickey Loomis is responsible for. The way to get out of this stuff is not to sit up here and pretend like it doesn't exist. They have to address these things and do the right way. This article lists biggest weaknesses as quarterback. And some people would kind of say, hey, well, this, that, and the third. Edge rusher, cornerback, offensive tackle, and safety. Now, that all depends. That depends on what the Saints do in terms of these players. Do the Saints do a about face on some of their standpoints on some of these players, like a Derek Carr or whatever, who doesn't want to take a pay cut? More on that in a second. But if that is indeed the case, if they do an about face and do untraditional Mickey Loomis style movements, which I have my doubts on that because of how stubborn they've been. He has been, not they're saying it's actually him doing this. So I don't believe that. Now, do the Saints ultimately get down? Because listen, getting to the black in terms of the cap is one thing, right? Getting back into the black is one thing. But once you get into the black, you have to go deep into the black to have a surplus so you can be able to sign whatever players that you need to sign so you can be competitive. Also, if you're bringing in free agents, which I don't think they're going to do too much bringing in expensive or even trying to compete in the open market with free agents, I don't see the Saints doing that. Having that aggressive approach. Who do they re-sign? I mean, there's several free agents that Saints looking at. Does Chase Young get a deal to come back to the Saints? How about Paulson Adebo? Some of these other guys that are going to be priced well. Juwan Johnson, I think Juwan Johnson is gone. But there are quite a few other players that you're looking at saying, hey, man, does this guy get a contract to come back? Can you afford to bring this guy back or whatever the case may be? Willie Gay could be gone, stuff like that. So, what do you do there? That's the question. And then, of course, when you start looking at everything else, then that'll kind of see if the Saints want a Debo back, a healthy Debo back. That'll help with the cornerback situation with Alontae Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry. That'll help out there. Based on what they do with Derek Carr, that's a whole nother thing. The edge rush thing, if they really like Chase Young, and all indications being that they didn't trade Chase Young, that they can ultimately look into re-sign Chase Young once they get the money right. You see what I'm saying? Because I think Chase Young stays. I don't think they kept him beyond the trade deadline because if y'all remember, there were trade calls for Chase Young as well as Marshawn Lattimore. The Saints got rid of Laddie Daddy for the picks, but denied trade of Chase Young, which gave me the indication that the Saints wasn't going to let him walk for free, that they want to actually re-up with Chase Young, whatever that may be, right? that they would re-up with Chase Young because they like the look of Chase Young and Carl Granderson, right? Because they haven't been able to select a defensive end. This guy wrote this article, no disrespect to him, but you trying to get the Saints to pick another defensive end after the Saints failed on Davenport and Peyton Turner, get the hell out of here. You see what Chase Young is doing. Even I didn't even mention Isaiah Foskey, the Snowman. He's still on the team. He hadn't really done anything. He's a second round pick. So miss me on these defensive end prospects unless they're the top one in the draft that falls to you, at 8 or whatever it is. Like the brother from Penn State, man, that's a wildebeest. But when you talk about these other guys, man, you can miss me on that. But the offensive tackle position, they talking about the tackle position, all this kind of stuff. The only way I'd be favor if a guy like Will Campbell falls to the Saints at 8, I'll take Will Campbell and then we'll shift Penning to a guard or something. That's my thing. I'll have Campbell. I would love that if Will Campbell from the LSU Tigers slid down to the Saints I think we're at 8. If he slid to number 8 or wherever we position that, let me check, make sure. I think we're positioned at number 8. Give me just a second, fam. Let me look at my tankathon and see where the Saints are currently positioned at. And we got some mock draft content coming out too. They're number 9 right now, so they're listed at number 9 in the draft. So it's that I don't think Campbell gets down there, but let's say he falls to you at the 9 spot, or whatever the case may be, then I would definitely take him and slide Penning inside, move Tolly to right tackle, have Campbell at left tackle, put Penning at the left guard position, and move from there, and then be about the business of building my offensive line and my defensive line. I'm just saying, man, because there is no success in the NFL unless this line is not as good as we think it is. They're not. We got an often injured, repetitively injured Eric McCoy, who is not a lightning rod type of player. He's kind of melancholy when it's just not hitting for what it is. We got a Cesar Ruiz who's definitely more missed than hit prospect from a first round draft pick. We got Penning, who's fundamentally his foundation. He's a good run guy, but in terms of, and then run to a degree, watching the tape on some of the stuff that I've seen from Penning needs work because Penning at times forget who he's supposed to block. I've seen timing issues with Penning, confusion issues and communication issues on who he's supposed to block. So we're going to have to find the right coach to get these guys where they belong. We've seen a lot of issues with Tale Fuaga. We expect that because he's young. He's a rookie. But then again, I guess I could say the same about Penning because even though it's Penning's third year, he played 6 games prior to him starting this entire year for the Saints. So about now we should see Penning coming into next year should be a lot polished. But then again, we really need an offensive line coach that can get these guys together. So we're looking at that. And like I said, my standpoint is build up the lines. We gave up way too much rushing yards. The Saints interior two guys of Saunders and Shepard, to me, are not as good as who we had before, which is David Onyemata and Shai Tuttle. These guys are not better than those guys. We need to look at improving that. I know we got Brian Brissy, who's a hell spawn in terms of creating disruption there. He needs to get better with that run support. But we need to find somebody, a big, massive defensive tackle that can clog or command a double team, just a big guy that can just, cause havoc there. We need to find that guy. We really do because, maybe get a couple of them, one early and one late in the draft because this ain't cutting it, man. The Saints get ran on it, and then they can't run the ball consistently. Depth's an issue, too, with the offensive line. Offensive line was terrible. The offensive line was in and out. The depth was terrible. Landon Young was terrible. Ali Udo sucked. We had issues, major issues with the backup linemen that we really knew. That offensive line is a problem, family. That's a big problem we need to correct. Then they talk about the safety issues and all that kind of stuff. And Jordan Howden didn't look his best here. Will Harris was awesome in his role. So, I mean, like I said, there's some things to kind of look up there as far as, but yeah, the money's funny and the Saints definitely have to, with all these picks, they're going to have to line up and make them pop, man. So we'll have a lot of this type of stuff coming up in the next few days about Saints draft content, right? All right, let's jump to another article right here from the Saints Wire. Like I said, shout out to the Saints Wire. I got quite a few of them here, just that one and another one. Saints projected salary cap space after Ryan Ramczyk news. This will hit the not too long ago as Ramczyk agreed to a cut in his salary this week, which sets him up for retirement. But how does it set up for New Orleans and the salary cap? Here's the breakdown. Ramczyk agreed to waive $18 million base salary for this upcoming season in exchange for the veteran minimum of 1.2 plus mil because he's being forced into medical retirement. He isn't getting the money either way, but doing it like this gives the Saints immediate savings of almost $17 million right here, right? That left Ramczyk with a $12.3 million cap hit and puts the Saints at roughly 326 mil and cap commitments for 25. The NFL hasn't yet announced where the cap will be this offseason, but most experts agree it will fall about 270 million. That means the Saints are probably in the hole by 56 mil or somewhere close to it. So almost 60 mil after the hit. That was just the first of several expected moves they'll make his off seasons. That'll make this off season. They're thinking about the restructuring of the young core players, guys like McCoy, giving up almost 7 million, Ruiz over 5 million, Granderson over 5 million. Tougher decisions to be made on guys like Cam, Taysom, DeMario, and Tyron, who all have hits between 20 to $10 million. And the elephant in the room is, of course, Derek Carr. He has the biggest cap hit on the team at $51.4 million, and he made it clear that he won't accept a pay cut. We're going to cover that just in a second. The Saints could restructure his deal and save $30 million, but effectively locks him in as the starting quarterback for 25 and 26. Don't bet on him waiving his no trade clause to join a new team either. It'll cost us just as much to keep him, at least until June the 2nd. But that would mean finding a way to get under the salary cap and work through free agency and the NFL draft with 51.4 million albatross around the neck. That just isn't realistic. Well, you could thank Loomis for that. The decisions Loomis has made have put the Saints in a bind. Overpaying Carr like this and restructuring agent players so many times is taking a toll, and now the Saints have to pay for it. We have to pay for it. And guess what, people? There will be no discipline from Lauscha or Gale about how the mismanagement of this cap situation happened with Mickey Loomis. He won't come out and admit to no wrongdoing. When his press conference finally hits, sometime whenever it's supposed to be coming soon, we're going to cover it here live. When it does hit, Mickey Loomis is going to be unapologetic. He's going to come out and he probably going to give more accolades to Coach Possum that was here. And he's going to be unapologetic. He doesn't feel like he done anything wrong. He feel like the reason why the team didn't succeed was because of the injuries. He hadn't, in his mind, I ain't even done anything wrong. See, that's the problem. That's why I was telling you guys, you look beyond the results. I don't lie now. So this is what's going on. So we know what time that is. That's been a rock hard, steady message that I've been promoting for a while, that this guy's unapologetic and he'll behave the same way because he doesn't see any wrong doing what he did. He don't see anything wrong with you being over $60 million in the red. He doesn't see any problem with the Saints being an older team with a bunch of contracts with players. He don't see anything wrong with them missing on draft picks. He don't see anything wrong with some of the free agents that he signed. Some of these guys are going to have to go because from a contract standpoint, he can't afford them. He don't see anything wrong with it. The problem was, in his mind, the big stinking skunk is injuries, and that's why the team failed. Watch. This is nothing new. He don't have anything else to spit. And if he comes out and says anything outside of what I just said, I will apologize profusely to Mickey Loomis. If he comes out and says anything else, anything outside of saying injuries was the problem, it's some stuff just not in our hands. It's just, you remember he said that? No, some stuff just out of our, what's happening to this team that's not in your hands? You might have something like C19, but we don't have that to deal with. And even there is a precaution for that as well, right? there's a precaution for that as well. So it's not many things that you can say, and whatever they are, please name them. You can do something about injuries. You can do something about bad leadership on the team. You can do a lot of stuff about all that stuff, right? You can, and you should if you're the general manager. All right, here's another one for you from CBS Sports. Saints head coach search. Drew Brees reveals which two candidates he wants to coach the New Orleans Saints, right? Here we go. New Orleans Saints have a long list of candidates they would like to interview for their next head coaching job. Drew Brees, the franchise all-time passing leader and future Hall of Famer, already gave his input on who he wants the team's next coach to be. The first guy who comes to my mind is Aaron Glenn, Brees told USA Today's Saints Wire. Arguably one of the greatest defensive backs to ever play the game. I played against him. I was a teammate of his too. He's a leader of men. He garners a ton of respect. He knows the game. He's highly competitive. Glenn is one of the candidates for the Saints head coaching job, and former NFL cornerback already has his connections to the organization. In addition to playing for the Saints, Glenn was a defensive back for the Saints when Brees was the quarterback. He left New Orleans to become the Lions defensive coordinator in 21. In addition to Glenn, Brees also mentioned he'd like to see Clint Kubiak get a job. If the Saints were to go in-house in 1 year as the Saints offensive coordinator, the Saints were 23rd in points per possession and 18 in yards per possession. The Saints have also reportedly requested permission to interview Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady, Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, and are scheduled to interview him and are scheduled to interview Darren Rizzi for Kubiak's name has not been mentioned as a candidate, and it won't be mentioned as a candidate. And he likes Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak is not ready to be a head coach in this here NFL. He's not. He's not. I would say a man like Joe Brady or even Cliff Kingsbury is more ready to be a head coach than Clint Kubiak is. He's just not ready, man. It's just what it is. And I've heard the potentiality of the Browns looking at him for an offensive coordinator. That's fine, man. That's fine. Go up there and see what you can do. But in the end, he's not ready. The Aaron Glenn thing that's a foregone conclusion. A lot of people see Aaron Glenn as the guy. I keep telling people Aaron Glenn is going to have his picks and chooses. The Jets are a real team. Despite Woody Johnson being a meddling, fumbling, bumbling dude, Aaron Glenn could make a lot of money with them people. He'll have a lot more free agency money. He'll have control of the team. He'll be able to kind of go up there and do his thing. He has a history with him. And there are other teams that's interested in Coach Glenn. So it's just one candidate we'll look at as well. And the Saints have other candidates. Hopefully we can line up some other guys. This is just this week. Next week, there'll be other candidates. The Saints will be interviewed. So hopefully we talk to a bunch of people from all kind of walks of philosophy in terms of passing, offense, defense, whatever the case may be. So hopefully Brian Flores is in that mix. Hopefully we can see some other guys that are rumored. There was the rumor. Pete Carroll wants to coach. I hope the Saints, reach out to him. I heard about John Gruden. I seen the picture of John Gruden hanging out with Foster Monroe, Derek Carr, Jake Hayner, and all them type of guys. The Saints thing to do, if John Gruden is a reality, he would be the guy that the Saints would link to because of Derek Carr. And me personally, I don't think Derek Carr is going anywhere. He's locked in here. And he's not going to take this potential pay cut, which is what we're talking about here as we segue into this article right here. All right. And this is Derek Carr has no interest in taking a pay cut to remain in New Orleans. The Saints entered offseason questions from top down as they kick off their head coaching search after installing their new leader. The question will turn to Derek Carr's future. The quarterback inked a 4-year, $150 million deal with the Saints in 2023 with 2 years remaining. The Saints must decide if they will move on and eat a chunk of dead money or attempt to restructure Carr's contract. For his part, Carr told ESPN's Kat Terrell that he has no interest in taking a pay cut to remain in New Orleans. I wouldn't take a pay cut, he said. Yeah, I wouldn't do that, especially with what I put on tape. Would I restructure? Absolutely. I'll always help the team that way. But there are some things you put out there that you earn. Even in some cases, it could be even worse. But I felt confident when I signed it that this would give the team the best flexibility at the time. But there's always a kind of respect as a quarterback. you're like, well, still we're in that respectful lane. We're good. Build a team. But yeah, I wouldn't take anything less to do this. It's hard enough putting our bodies through it, and you're trying to get everything you can for your family, for it, right? Carr noted that he had, quote, super positive conversation with the front office about his future. Still, at this stage, is just focusing on getting fully healthy after missing the final 4 games of the season due to a broken 9 throwing hand, right? I got to take care of myself. And then the rest after that is really out of my hands, Carr said Monday. I've had great conversations with everyone in this building, Mickey Loomis, Gail Benson, with everybody, and we have mutual feelings. So my confidence level is very high. What can happen? What could happen? And we've shown what could possibly be at times. The hard part is we have to deal with some stuff that we didn't get to see that full picture all the time. So we'll see. At a minimum, contract restructure is on the way as he currently sits at 51.46 million salary cap figure for 25. Carr is due 30 million in base salary that becomes fully guaranteed if on the roster on the 3rd day of the new league year in March. It's guaranteed for injury. His contract also calls for $10 million guarantee roster bonus due in March, which would be subject to offsets if he's cut and signed elsewhere. New Orleans is once again significantly over the projected cap for 2025, needing restructures and potential releases to become compliant compliant before the new league year opens. A post June 1st release of Carr will allow the Saints to spread that cap hit over 2 years. In 10 games and 24, Carr completed almost 68% of his passes for 279 off the 279 attempts, from a lot of checkdowns there as well. Over 2,100 yards throwing, 15 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. After a hot first 2 weeks of the season, the Saints offense cooled off and struggled to find consistency. Carr missed 3 games in the middle of the season with an oblique injury, then the final 4 games. The new coach will likely have a lot to say about Carr's future in New Orleans. The Saints have thus far requested head coaching interviews. We've already named these guys. Rizzi also listed people can form their own opinions about Derek Carr. And again, they're entitled to those. Rizzi said Monday, we didn't win a game when he didn't start. Well, that's not because of Carr. That's because of you. That's because of you. Because of you. That's, well, he didn't win. Say what you want about Derek Carr. We didn't win a game without him. Well, that's because of you, bro. That's because of you. Your ignorance on that offense and your non-accountability to get those offensive guys off their ass and make them do what they're supposed to do, make their earn them paycheck, as opposed to you sitting up there placating and talking about they gave phenomenal effort and they getting beat on the tape consistently. That's what I'm saying about morons and simpletons and chumps that we need to clear out of here, man. Because nobody, no self-respecting man that believe in giving the people a good product would even much try to say this type of balderdash and pass it off on you. That's an insult to your intelligence, man. Phenomenal effort. We watch the same tape you watch, and I watch guys late to the party, guys not knowing who they're supposed to block, guys missing tackles, guys dropping passes, guys timing off despite all the practices they've been doing. I don't understand this incompetence, but that's what it is. So Rizzi can take that shit somewhere else or go back to a special teams room, because we don't need that. We need somebody with higher IQ and even higher accountability levels. That's definitely the case, right? To call players out when they deserve to be called out, and not just fuss and literally rip rookie punters apart for missing a block, but don't tell offensive linemen nothing when they miss blocks or whatever. Don't tell them nothing. Don't tell them nothing when people drop passes or whatever the case. Don't tell them nothing. Just stand up there and look stupid, right? And I'm just passionate. Get out of here, man. So the Saints finished 5-12. Rizzi's 3-5 under there. They're going 14-13 in games. Carr has started over so they've gone 14-13 in games. Carr has started over the 2 seasons. And when I hear people talk about Carr statistics and all of this, talking about this pass and all this, man, over the season, Carr has done a ton of checkdowns, man. A lot of, at least in games that he's played, he's checked the ball down at least 5 to 6 to 7 times a game. He checked the ball down like a sumbitch, and that helps that 67% completion rate and go up when you checking it down 6, 5, 6, 7 times a game, you know. But all them stats about this, that, and the third, the only stat that matters that people are really going to pay attention to is the 14 and 13 that he's been since he's been here the last 2 years. That's barely above 500. They say, well, Q, that's not all on him. A lot of it is on him. A lot of it's not. This is true. But usually when you pay a guy $150 million, I'm going to tell you that you're not going to be able to protect him from failure. Just telling you the God's honest truth. 14 and 13 in 2 years. To me, the Derek Carr experiment has been a massive failure, because when you paid him $150 million, you didn't think that, hey, man, I'm paying this guy $150 million for whatever amount of time to be the starting quarterback, and I'm looking to get 14 and 13. You ain't paying no guy $150 million for 14 and 13. Just keeping it all the way funky with you, right? But at the end, man, that's the thing. Hell yeah, a coach that's respectable is going to want his own guy. That's why Mickey Loomis going to tailor this search where whoever he has as the potential head coach of the team will have to accept Derek Carr as their quarterback. That's already been leaked out there. And even potential positional coaches as his staff, that's already been leaked out there. So if it's true or not, we'll determine it. But in the end, that's not above Mickey Loomis, to be quite honest, that he would, with some stipulation, say you can get the job, but we need to have Derek Carr here, because you can't cut Carr and you can't trade him. What, you gonna cut Carr? Mickey Loomis is dead set against that. And here's the final article right here, man, before we get on up out of here. This is an opinion piece from Darian Gray of the Saints Wire. Like I said, I had a couple of them tonight. I like several of the articles they were writing. They were hot tonight. Opinion: Derek Carr's latest comments come off as arrogant and delusional. What do you mean, sir? Well, let's see what he's saying. Derek Carr recently told ESPN's Cat Terrell that he wasn't willing to play ball with the Saints by taking a pay cut, and that's fine. Players are owed the guaranteed money in their contracts. It's his rationale that is the issue. How do you mean, sir? Carr said he doesn't feel he should take a pay cut, quote, especially with what I put on tape, end quote, referring to his level of play this year and last year. This statement comes off extremely full of himself and delusional. This isn't to call him a terrible quarterback, but that statement that should be reserved for a few elite players at the position, and he's not one of them. And this guy makes a point. You got a lot of people that like Derek Carr. Derek Carr as a person is a really good person. Okay, I've said that. Derek Carr as a person is a good person. But far too often people get caught in the person versus the football player. We have no issues with Derek Carr, the person, Derek Carr, the father, Derek Carr, the husband, Derek Carr, the community giver, the charitable guy, the respectful person. Have no problems with that at all. So at times you have to remind people to draw the line, because Derek Carr, the football player, and Derek Carr, the personal person, or the, who he is in this private side of life, we're not even going over there. Whatever he does over there is his business. But we're talking about when he gets in between those lines on that green field. That's what we are talking about. And me personally, like I said, I like Derek Carr. I just think Derek Carr, he's not worth $150 million to me. And this experiment that I've seen over the last couple of years is a disaster. $150 million for 14 and 13. And they said, well, he got all this and that, and he checks the ball down a ton. He really does. A lot of the plays that they were running, and a lot of this could be put on the play callers, because you look at what Kubiak was doing and Brees. See, these guys just be trying to look out for one another. And that's and listen, that has to be called out, because they call it a brotherhood, because they trying to get more contracts and get money so they can keep making money. But they making money off of you. But you have to be able to dispute what they're doing, right? If he's saying, hey man, this guy, because Sean Payton did that with what's his face, Coach Possum. That's how he got the job. And they just be big up in their brother. Hey man, this guy right here, let him get a chance, and they give him the chance, and then he fails, then he moves on, and then Peyton says, hey man, come on back over here and be my defensive coordinator, my defensive assistant. Don't worry about it. And they just keep it going, right? But it's up to you to stop that, because a lot of times that's not good for us. For them to be big up in their homeboys to get jobs and money, and they know deep down inside, even though they like the dude, they know that guy ain't qualified to be no head coach. They know it. They know, but they're going to big up him anyway because that's my boy. Let him go and get that check. That's good for them, but that is not good for us. And we have to know the difference between that, because oftentimes we like these players to a point where we listen to what they say, and then we be like, yeah, let's go along with that. You got to stop doing that, man. You guys, we got to stop doing that, because Demario Davis is one of those guys that will talk forever and a day about how good the Saints organization is and all this kind of stuff, that they're on the right path, and he don't buck against no. They've been failing over the last 4 years. You never heard him come out and say, man, the Saints need to turn this around. I'm tired of this. This ain't gonna work. This is not how we supposed to be doing. You didn't hear him say none of that kind of stuff. Demario Davis been on that kick where this, that, and the third, and faith and all this kind of stuff, brother. Listen, that's all at an end. Y'all failing. I don't want to hear all this other stuff. And besides, you too late in the game for that. Go tell you should have told his teammates about picking up the pace in the middle of the season, as opposed to telling you with one game left in the year that, hey man, we're not going to panic. What are you talking about? Not going to panic. The season over with. If you them people was dead men walking on that boat. And then, they never said nothing, one thing negative about the Saints. Why? Because he getting that bread. He getting that bread. That's the whole thing. So miss me with all that other stuff. And we have to know the difference to shut these players down when you see them doing that. That's also another behavior that I want to introduce to the family members to start recognizing, because I'll be pinpointing a lot of that stuff. A lot of the game that these guys be coming in, whether they're coaches or players, they come with that stuff, and you got to stop that. You got to start talking against that, and stop letting them make it because they're a player that you like. You get what I'm saying? Whether you like them or not, if they're saying something wrong, shut them down. Say, bro, hold on, bro. No, you ain't gonna get away with that. You see what I'm saying? Right is right. It's okay to like somebody, but if they saying something wrong, bro, don't just go with all of that there. But that's what he was trying to get us to do. Go with, oh, they're going to turn it around, man. Get out of here with that, man. I don't want to hear that. You was not nowhere when all this losing was going on. 7-game losing streak, and we're not going to panic. Man, shut up with that, man. Get away from here with that. And they ain't going to panic because they still getting the check. But you hold up the check, watch how fast they start panicking, man. Come on, man. If you're going to get money, get it the right way. Don't take, it's like they taking money from you and they're not producing in a way they're stealing from you. If they're not turning out a full effort for the Who Dat Nation, that's deceptive, and that's wrong to do that. And they at the end, and the reality is at the end, you see it as your team and you want to win. And some of these players, a great deal of them see it, hey man, whether I win or lose, man, I get my check, I'm good. When my contract run out, I just go to another team and get another check. It's a business. That's how they look at it. Only a handful of them real ones say, man, I'm going to represent for the Who Dat Nation, because them people riding with us, and I don't want them to be mad at me, this type of thing. We got a lot of them guys in the building, fam. They'll sit up here and placate because they got a check to tell you that, to sell you short. They're getting paid to sell you short, and we supposed to know better. Right? So anyway, let's get back to this. That statement comes off as extremely full of himself and delusional. This isn't, let me see me kind of highlighted it. He says, there we go. He says, this isn't to call him a terrible quarterback, but that's a statement that should be reserved for a few elite players at the position. He's not one of them. Spencer Rattler had his struggles, but the season didn't start going down when rookie backup became the starter. Carr started in the first 3 games of the 7-game losing streak. 3 of his wins came against teams picking top 10 in this NFL's draft, and one of them, the Carolina Panthers, beat him in the rematch. The offense stagnated what Carr conducted them. You saw times where he would begin to panic after the pressure got there early in the game. You saw struggles with ball placement, and these issues go back to last year. This man telling the truth, man. When Carr essentially tells you to check his tape, you think he was in the MVP race. He did some things good in Clint Kubiak's system, but those faults are present and prominent as well. The first 2 weeks were best when he just needed to be an efficient complement to a dominant running attack. Only completed 30 passes, both wins. But when the Saints went 1-3, when he was asked to attempt 30 or more passes, not counting a primetime loss to the Chiefs where he threw 28 times. Undeniable isn't an accurate description of Carr, but the veteran is acting as if a pay cut is beneath him. He could have made his point without putting the target on his back, but the poor choice of words paints a less than flattering picture of him. To me, Derek Carr is not an elite level quarterback, and this guy's right. He's right about what he's saying about Derek Carr. In the system, Derek Carr did struggle in those games. We pinpointed him. And listen, is that really a surprise? Put one in the chat if y'all remember what I've always said about Derek Carr. That is, Derek Carr works for you if you put him into the play action by having the running game and him as a complement for the running attack. That is who Derek Carr is as a quarterback today. This year, last year, and next year. He is a quarterback that you need to have a strong running attack for. And you put him into play action, he'll tear you up. That's what I said. He's one of, if you check his play action stats, he's one of the top play action quarterbacks in the NFL. Why? Because that's his strong value. He cannot be used as a primary option for you to pass the ball. You cannot do it. It's just not a part of it. And I've said it. The tape proves it. Because you can see at times the guy is super scary, man. He's super scary. Guys get near him and he just throws the ball away. He's gun shy, and it don't take a lot to rattle him, right? And he don't make the best decision at times. We know this, but like I said, I don't think Derek Carr is worth $150 million. But the Saints wanted this guy bad because they felt like, well, it was really Dennis Allen. That felt like he would be the golden piece to lift the Saints back into prominence. And all it did was just made sure the Saints remained a non-playoff team. So like I said, man, you watch the tape. The number one issue, like I said, by Derek Carr, the tape tells everything. It tells about all those players. And the tape don't leave any question marks about any player on there. And I had a year's worth of game broke down on Patreon. And speaking of the final game, fam, the Patreon, man, I got that'll be coming up tomorrow. I have to apologize to the Patreon champions, man. Just been having a lot of stuff going on with the fam and all kind of stuff going on. So I hadn't been able to get to that, but I promise you guys that that's coming up really soon. Right. But anyway, all I can say, man, in the end is that when you look at what Derek Carr is, he's a guy that you put into play action with a strong running attack, and he will give you results that way. But he's not a primary weapon. You can't use him as a primary way of moving your offense. That'll be, not a good thing to do. And also remember too, why Derek Carr has been here. Taysom Hill is mixed snaps with Derek Carr. That has kind of held his stats down, but he checks the ball down a ton. Then you had a lot of pre-snap throws, like that didn't require him to read the defenses. He would just turn and throw the ball here, turn and throw the ball there. And that was Clint Kubiak's way of simplifying the playbook for Derek Carr. And it was just really not a good look for him, as opposed to him forcing Derek Carr to pick it up or do certain things or work extra hard or whatever the case may be, to give him the key to understand what he need to do, or sit down with him and find out what plays that he likes to use, and then building around those plays, as opposed to trying to force him into the play set that you like. Make sure you see what plays he's comfortable with and build the offense around those plays that he's comfortable with. And the Taysom Hill thing, like if you're going to use Taysom Hill as a quarterback, make sure he's actually a quarterback. Like teach him 5 basic offensive passing plays when it's time to throw the ball as a passer, if you need that. But that was something that they just never did. But I respect this writer's commentary on Derek Carr. Derek Carr's not an elite quarterback. He's not. He's a play action quarterback. That's his true value to the team. And I don't think that with that being said, I don't think Derek Carr will be released because that's not what Mickey Loomis wants, and that's well stated, right? All right, let's get on this, and then we're going to get on about it. It's the Tankathon draft order for 2025. As you can see on the draft, it's 105 days, 22 hours, 2 minutes, and 50 seconds. So, we got that going on. You can see right here, Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants, Patriots, Jags, Raiders, Jets, Carolina, and the New Orleans Saints are in 9th place. They're a top 9 team there. You can see the losers of 4. They finished the season out with 4 straight losses, and we're talking about bringing some of these people back. Are you serious? Are you serious? So anyway, there's a lot going on in Who Dat Nation. That'll be enough right there from the family members. Listen, do me a service, family. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. We up in this thing, Sports Coma, representing the mighty Who Dat Nation, man. Listen, we'll return on Thursday with another report, breaking it all down, man, and talking Saints and black and gold, fam. I know I've been telling y'all I got a alert or whatever you want to call it, a advertisement or whatever, announcement. That's the proper word to throw out there. And I'm going to be putting it out there pretty soon. I just got so much stuff I've been working on doing, fam. So y'all just be patient with me. I got an announcement coming for y'all to kind of talk to y'all about something. But I'll let y'all know very soon. So y'all be looking out. So anyway, y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Y'all check out our magnificent sponsors in the description section below. Bet Online, Teach Henley. Make sure y'all check out some of our people in that chat below, man. Make sure y'all check them out, man, and show them some love and some support, man, on our platform, man, because they've done a really good job. Mint Mobile and promoting and helping us out as well. So with that being said, I'm gonna get out on that. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all have a fantastic rest of y'all night, and I'm gonna holler at y'all on the next one. Much love.
Bet Online continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC. Head to Bet Online today and don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here.
WhoThatDaily.com. That's right, WhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who Dat and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, WhoThatDaily.com is your site. The WhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who Dat in all of us. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the pro shops. The link is in the description section below. Remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. Check out the pro shop and who that is.